Welcome to Breaking the Barrier, a podcast focused on Western trailblazers who are breaking barriers both in and out of the arena. I'm your host, Rebel Sjeklocha, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by someone who truly has been a trailblazer in the Western industry. I'm visiting with Paul Tierney, Miss Rodeo America, also known as the official ambassador for the professional sport of rodeo. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you, Rebel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this.
So today I want to give everyone the opportunity to get to know Jordan, the woman under the crown, rather than just Miss Rodeo America. So I'd like to delve into your story and upbringing a little before we delve into your current role. So to start, talk about how rodeo shaped you growing up, and at what point did you realize it was something you could make your own?
My background is very involved in rodeo and ranching for sure. We moved down to our ranch when I was about a year old. It's just in the Southern Hills, about 20 minutes from Hot Springs, South Dakota. That's like the big town everyone knows. Because when I say Oral, it's about 60 people, like if that. It's just a little town. And it had a school at one point. That's where me and my sister and my brother, we went to elementary school before we went into Hot Springs for high school. So it's got its little charm, but it's definitely very remote. We raise commercial Black Angus. We have about 150 cow-calf pairs. And actually, a little fun fact, this past year, I finally took a leap of faith and started my own little humble herd, which I am very excited about.
That's exciting.
I'm always like, Dad, how are they doing? Tell me something. But, I know we're not talking about this yet, but with COVID this year, it was kind of nice to be home and help with that, not just because it's my parents' cows, but it's also mine now too, so I get to help with that as well. So my background is very much growing up on a ranch. I don't remember the exact date when I first entered, my first rodeo, but I remember just being on horses at a very, very young age, whether that was, working cattle, whether that was competing at rodeos, whatever it was. I do remember growing up on the back of a horse. Although when I was about 5 years old, I had a really bad horse accident. It really scared me. And so for about 3 years, I was so stubborn, I would not even touch a horse. And my parents, it was probably one of the most frustrating things for them, because they just couldn't see, why I just couldn't get over it and just get back on the horse, And I was just so frustrated. And my sister had a friend that went to elementary school with her, and she always came over to our horse over to our house because she always really liked to ride horses. And so she slowly got me riding again. First horse that I started riding again when I was I was probably about 8 or 9 after my wreck, which happened when I was about 5. So I took about 3 years where I did not even touch a horse. And the first horseback that I started riding was my brother's young heel horse. Her name, I named her, and I named her Princess. He was really, he did not like the name at first, but it wore on him, and now everyone knows her as Princess. She's about 22 years old now. She was such a good horse, and she was actually really young when I started riding her. She was about 5 years old. She just took care of me. She was like one of those amazing horses that just know, when they have a kid or a timid rider on them, and they just take care of them. She was a big reason I got my confidence back in horses. When I started competing again, I started running barrels on Princess, and she was actually a pretty nice little barrel horse. That's really where I got my competitive spirit back again when it came to rodeo. She helped me figure out how to win again, and that rodeo was fun, and, horses were not something to be scared of. And so it's kind of an interesting story. My mom always says every world champion has a kid that humbles them, and I was my dad's. because I was not about it. He probably was just so frustrated by it. I can imagine, Paul Tierney, he doesn't take kindly to people telling him. And his little stubborn, redheaded daughter was like, absolutely not. But the accident I actually had was I was with my dad. We were going out to get some cows, and and I was on a heel horse of his that I'd ridden the night before at a pro rodeo that we went to. And I think it was like over the 4th of July, like there was fireworks, loud music, a loud PRCA rodeo. And I rode this horse around in the in the warm-up pen like all night. And so the next day he's like, oh, well, they're perfect. We'll go out and we'll just get some cows and Jordan can ride Mac. So I was going out and I was so excited to be on Mac again because I really liked him from the night before. And I started getting my energy up. And I remember my dad telling me, like, calm down. You need to calm down. He's feeling all that energy. You need to calm down. And then he just, like, took off at a dead sprint. And I freaked out. I did not know. And I threw the reins down. I grabbed it onto his neck. And then I slid underneath him. And I just remember him, like, jumping over me. It was very, it was not fun.
No, I'm visualizing all this. I can only imagine. Little Jordan.
Yeah, so then when I fell down and, everything kind of settled, my dad came over to me and I just got up and I, like, marched back to the house. I was so mad. And he wonders where I get my temper from. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. So you mentioned your dad, Paul Tierney, being a world champion, and your mom's very talented as well. Did you feel any extra pressure growing up with such big shoes to fill?
At times you do, but my parents are really some great coaches, and they, throughout their life, they've really dug into some great information, self-help and all that kind of stuff, like how to be successful and get out of your own head kind of messaging. And so they were always pouring that into us kids. And one thing I always remember, like my parents telling me, is that, Jordan, people really only care about themselves. Like they really don't pay attention, like as much as you might think they do. So you don't have to impress someone else. You just need to do the best you can for yourself. And it was kind of that messaging of like, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of you. What's going to make you happy? What's going to, help you get to the next level? And you can't measure yourself to someone else's success. They say comparison is the thief of joy, and that's so true. And yeah, you definitely 100%. I'm not going to sit here and say you can't get in your head when your dad's a world champion, and your mom's a very accomplished cowgirl, and you feel like you're behind your peers. You 100% can, but I was very blessed to have parents that just poured good information into me and my siblings. And so I always just tried to, get out of my head as much as possible when it came to that.
You have a lot of experience in a competitive setting, whether that be rodeo queen pageants, college rodeoing, etc. What advice do you have, or what does your mental framework look like when you're getting ready to compete?
My mental preparation, so I'm a big visual person. So I will like find a quiet place, whether that's, at a rodeo, I'll go sit off over by myself. Like if I'm at a rodeo queen pageant, I'll go stand off by myself and I'll visualize what I need to do. And for example, when it comes to roping, what's going to be your start? What's your calf going to do? And you visualize that. What's your swing look like? What are you going to do when you have your first shot, that kind of thing. And then when it comes to like rodeo queen pageant, for me, it's like, okay, so what, if you have to model on stage, what's the path going to be that you're going to take, with modeling? When you get that question, what's your breath look like? That seems so like silly and minute, but for me, it's really just having every single plan in my head. Then it just takes all the like worry and concern out of it and kind of that anxiety about it. So, I mean, they're different types of competition, but it's that same thing of like having a process and a plan really helps you to feel more relaxed.
There are a lot of young women who look up to you as Miss Rodeo America and will likely do so long after your reign's over. What advice would you give those young girls or even your younger self?
I would say just go for it. I had a lot of doubt before I decided to run for my first rodeo queen pageant because people are familiar with my story. It was later on in my life when I decided to do it. I was about 23 years old when I did compete for my first title, and I was so worried that my lack of experience would hinder me, but I'm so happy I went for it. And if you have any doubts, it might not be lack of experience, but if you have any doubts in anything, the worst that can happen is you're going to fail and you're going to learn from it and you're going to grow. Hindsight, that's a blessing. That's, you're still succeeding because you're still pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You're still, growing in your life skills and your people skills and everything that comes along with rodeo queening. So just take the leap of faith. There's so many people in our industry that are willing to help. So many people that have a servant's heart, that are just want to help girls, want to help them succeed and see them grow professionally. And
so if anyone sees you on social media, you're dressed to the nines, rhinestone to high heavens all the time, and it looks very glamorous, but you're also totally cowgirl. Yourself and last year's Miss Rodeo America, Eva Oliver, have kind of coined this saying, punchy but pretty. Can you explain what that saying means to you?
Yeah, so and it might have been the fact that I was, my mom was a former rodeo queen, but just ever since I was little, it's never been I had to be one or the other. At home, I'll be in dirty pants that I haven't washed for like several days, and they've got manure all over them, and I wear the same dirty sweatshirt outside, and I haven't worn makeup or brushed my hair in days. But then when I get to go to town, I get to clean up, I get to curl my hair, I get to put on my fake eyelashes and my most rhinestoned out clothes. And you can do both. And I think that's something that my parents, my mom and my dad have always encouraged us girls, that when you look your best, you feel your best. You can be both punchy and pretty. You can go out there, get the job done alongside the boys, and then go inside and take a few minutes to get ready and look like $1 million. You don't have to choose one or the other. And I love makeup, hair, blingy clothes. I'm all about it. I've been about it my entire life. So for me, it's just a way that I can really express that side of me. But I'm not scared to get those clothes dirty. You know what I mean? It's just clothes. You can go take them to the dry cleaners. You can, always replace them. It's just material things, but a hard work ethic, that's something that no matter what I'm dressed up hard work ethic, coachability, that's what I always want to bring to the table.
Circling back around to the Miss Rodeo America pageant, what was your why for wanting to be Miss Rodeo America, and how has being a rodeo queen influenced the trajectory of your life?
My why definitely comes from a deep-rooted love for this industry. And I remember, so I graduated college from Chadron State in 2017, and I was working at a great job in at Hot Springs. I was the office manager at a physical therapy clinic there. And I felt like I wasn't doing the industry that raised me justice with my degree that I had, and I felt like I could do more. And it really was a God thing. So I came home one winter day, and my sister in 2018, she goes, "Jordan, I think you should run for Miss Rodeo South Dakota." And it had always been something in the back of my mind, and I'd seen girls that had taken their state title or taken their Miss Rodeo America title and have just catapulted themselves into phenomenal careers within our industry and have really been part of that growth. Look at Amy Wilson, Ashley Andrews, girls like that, Jennifer Douglas Smith. I just admired those ladies so much, and I just saw an opportunity to really be part of this industry and figure out the way that I was going to be part of that growth. Because you can either, sit and be complacent in it and then complain about things not happening, or you can be part of it. And I wanted to be part of it. Rodeo queening was a way that I saw that I could really make those connections with people, get that experience. And the experience is a huge thing. Talking in front of crowds of people, being able to handle yourself as you independently travel across the United States with 250-pound bags of luggage. You know what I mean? That sense of independence you get, and just so much that comes along with it. So my why is really deep rooted in being a positive influence on rodeo in the Western way of life. Because I don't want to sit back and then 20 years down the road, and one day my kids ask me, "Well, Mom, what did you do?" And I can't feel good about what I did. I want to be proud of that and this is really a way that I saw an avenue for me to do that.
You mentioned wanting to take on the challenges of this industry. So in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge the rodeo or agriculture industry is facing, or what opportunities do you see emerging?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's really been on my mind a lot lately. I was literally just working cows on Sunday with my parents. And as we were moving cows, I was just thinking about, kind of meat being demonized lately. And in the last few years, I've really seen it catch speed with like the fake meat industry. And number one, people have the absolute choice to choose whatever their diet is. That is not what I'm talking about. But we also have the right as producers, as ranchers, as farmers to defend our way of life and, not to sit back and let it be demonized. And I really look at girls like Amanda Radke from South Dakota. She's a huge beef advocate. Her influence through social media, I'm pretty sure she works out of her home, and the reach that she's been able to have has been phenomenal. I grab from that kind of inspiration. And I number one, I see that as a huge thing right now, and kind of being on the forefront and figuring out how to be a good spokesperson and how to relay our message in a positive way that doesn't, seclude people's right to choose whatever diet they want, but to present the facts and present, that we do make our life in an honest way, that we are stewards of the land and of the animals. So that's the message I want to promote.
Your life is sort of on hold right now to serve as Miss Rodeo America for not 1, but 2 years because of COVID-19. Where do you see yourself after the crown?
My plans for the future are really open-ended because, like I've mentioned before, I am really, I'm a big believer in God holding my future. I don't know what's in it, but He does, and I'm just going to trust in Him and His plan and His process. I've done that this far, and I've gotten some amazing opportunities. With Miss Rodeo America, I get a $20,000 educational scholarship, which I will be pursuing my master's in business when I am done. And I will be doing it online so that I can start working right away. I to 2 years out of the workforce. I'm ready to get back in it, but I don't know exactly where I will be working, but I'm hoping that some connections come out of this, whether that's working for the PRCA or working for a major sponsor in rodeo or working for a beef magazine or an agriculture magazine, like something along those lines where I can use my life experience, my experiences being Miss Rodeo America, and my educational background, and just, the way that I've grown up. And so, I know it is kind of a cliche question, like, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? But I've just allowed myself to have freedom in letting that future be flexible, because I don't want to give myself a strict laid out plan, because things can change. Doors can close, but other ones are going to open for sure. And so to be ready for those opportunities to come my way is what I can do for myself.
To kind of wrap things up, from your experiences thus far, what's something you'd like to share with those in the industry?
I just want to encourage girls, boys, anyone, young people in our industry, that if you listen to this and, whatever your plan, if you want to stay within this industry and keep being an advocate for it, get involved. There's FFA, there's 4-H, there's so many avenues. Listen to podcasts, of people in our industry and how we can help, how we can be part of that growth, because it really does start at a young age. Don't wait until you're 23 like me, and start, figuring out what that looks like for you. I just encourage people, especially in our industry, because we got to have loud voices and we got to be respectful, but we also got to, be heard.
Once again, that was Jordan Tierney, Miss Rodeo America, also known as the official ambassador for the professional sport of rodeo. I'm Rebel Sjeklocha, and you're listening to the Breaking the Barrier podcast, presented by the Rural Radio Network.